Hello, I'm Peter Bell, and I'm here with Mr. Perry Little of Green River Gold Corp. Hello, Perry.
Hello, Peter. How are you?
Very well, thanks. Nice to talk to you again. It's September 23rd. We talked earlier in the year, and I've been following your progress since then. Well done. Keep up the hard work. One question for you here. What's your vision for the company 3 years out?
Uh, Following the path that we're on, basically, we have got a multi-pronged approach to generating revenue from placer mining while focusing our longer-term efforts on the hard rock potential. We've got we think, a spectacular prospect with the 90 square kilometers of hard rock property we have that we picked up. Actually, in March of 19 is when we picked that up, and I get Kyle to address that to you here, or address that in a moment. But in the meantime, we're somewhat unique in that we actually generate cash flow, or the potential to generate significant cash flow from all of the placer activities we're doing. And again, unique. We are a placer mining company that will never actually do any placer mining. So we rent out placer mining claims to other miners and have them basically take the exploration risk. We get to find out what's on the property. We collect some rent, and the property remains in our hands. At the same time, we are also actively, I guess you could call it, selling picks and shovels to all the placer miners. And we make a bit of money on equipment, on supplies, and we've recently entered into the gold buying business, which, considering the fact that we pretty much have our overhead all covered in this building, is it's a good business. We'll just leave it at that. But it's a good, solid business. So we think we can generate more cash flow. We have other businesses we're looking at that we would integrate into this model that would generate additional incremental cash flow. But the big prize is still the hard rock property. And, Kyle could maybe speak to that a little bit. By the way, we're a little proud of Kyle here this morning because last night he just nailed down the nomination for the local Conservative Party. So it was kind of interesting. Snap election and snap candidate.
Wonderful. Thanks, Perry. Yeah, I look forward to talking to you again sometime. Please, yeah, let's talk to Kyle here. My first time talking to him. If you could pass the phone to him, thanks.
I will pass it over to Kyle.
Hi, Peter. How's it going?
Hey, wonderful. Nice to meet you.
And nice to meet you as well.
So I gather you're an essential part of the Green River company here.
It appears that way, yes.
Maybe could you tell me a little bit about, how you first got involved with us?
I've been a placer miner for years and met Perry through the local mining community and went and visited a few of his mine sites back in old days. And the relationship grew from there.
Wonderful. And what's your kind of title or role here now through the summer 2020 with Green River and looking into the future? There's lots of changes going on for this company, lots of opportunity to get in, right? Ground floor. I wonder, what have you been doing? What are you going to be doing in the future? What do you want to do?
My title with the company is mine manager. My job entails overseeing the placer properties and the rentals of them, designing and performing some of the exploration on the hard rock property, permitting, which is a huge part of the job, and overseeing a lot of the day-to-day operations.
Great. That's a juggle. There's a few things there, hey?
Yeah, it keeps a guy busy.
Well, love to talk about all of them in turn. The stuff I'm most familiar with is probably the placer side of things and even the retail store. How much of your time is that taking up? Is that kind of half your time, would you say?
Between the placer properties and the retail store, it would be around a third of my time.
Cool. So there's a lot of, and so the hard rock really is the big question here. I wonder how much time you're putting into that and what you can
The hard rock is my main focus. Using outside geological consultants to design the hard rock exploration projects, trying to get the best bang for our buck and as fast as possible.
That's great. Yeah, thanks. I wasn't aware so much about the outside consultants with the hard rock program. It's despite how closely I've been following it, it's something I kind of wondered about is the exploration concepts. Where those ideas are coming from, and what kinds of plan you'll bring to bear on that, right? Because so many junior mining companies, they don't have anything really going on other than their hard rock exploration, so they don't really talk about anything else. Green River is a bit different with all the cash generating sides of the business that you're trying to launch and get humming away, right? So it kind of competes for attention and space on the for the audience out here looking at the company. What can you tell us about those outside consultants and those projects, the hard rock side?
Well, the outside consultants we use to get, like I say, the best possible targets for the exploration and to get the best out of the results that we can get. Like you say, we're a multifaceted business, and I am here, there, in the store, out in the field. So we use them as much as possible to try to get the results that we want.
Well, and what do those look like? It's I guess there's a pretty clear deposit model in mind in this part of the Cariboo belt, right?
There is. Sorry, lost my train of thought there.
Well, just thinking about the hard rock side, right? Like, and the millions of dollars that can get spent really quick on core drilling and all the high stakes exploration work that goes along with that. We haven't seen, and I haven't seen news flow from Green River, about that. So where are we with those hard rock projects? And is it really just Fontaine that we're talking about here?
For the hard rock projects, yes, Fontaine is the only hard rock project. We're grassroots exploration, trying to identify proper targets for drilling. So I guess we're in the grassroots stage on the exploration at this point.
Yeah, I had a look on the min file and didn't see any old kind of indications of work around around Swift River, lots of placer records. And some of those guys, they're drilling a bit deeper into hard rock, but not as much work done in the past as in some other areas of the neighborhood. So
yeah, the Swift River area is our placer claim area. The Fontaine is a little bit to the east of the Swift River. That's where most of where the hard rock project is.
Yeah. And that was optioned. The hard rock was optioned from somebody.
No, we purchased the hard rock.
Yeah. Okay. Purchased it outright. Do we know the price offhand from that, and when?
I don't know the price offhand. I believe it was in March of 2019.
Yeah. And work done to date versus, work planned here. Where are we at?
Work done to date is some geophysical sampling, some backpack diamond drilling, LiDAR, and it's been some VLF surveys done, electromagnetic geophysical surveys.
Yep. This is it, right? Building a case. How many, I wonder about the geophysics, the geochem.
We are currently awaiting results on that.
Mm-hmm. And there weren't any prior programs that when I looked around, I didn't see any, much geochem coverage, some kind of specific localized stuff in some of the river bends where people were looking for placer stuff, but not a lot of work away from those areas in this block. So like on Fontaine with that, on the hard rock claims that we have, is there is there much historical work that we're building on, or are we at ground zero, or starting from basically nothing?
There is some previous geochem surveys that have been done in the area. Most of it was done by a gentleman by the name of Mr. Tripo. And there were some pretty good results that we were trying to get similar in the same areas to base our plan off of.
And what kind of stuff was that? Like, was he finding outcropping quartz veins, or were there float? Was he sampling float, or are these soil geochem numbers? Like, what are we talking about?
Soil geochem for the most part.
Okay. And what kind of
bedrock outcroppings as well with quartz veins, quartz stringers.
Yeah, so those ones start to get interesting too, right? Like chasing those down and stripping around those, and you mentioned a backpack drill too, right? Where you have this exposure. You can go and put a bunch of short holes, and start to add some dimensions to something, get a sense for dip, at least, right? Some of these basic orientations.
Correct. Yeah, and that program is actually just starting this week. We got the drill last week, went and tried it out. It works amazing, and we're hitting the road running.
Wonderful. Is that where a drill that company's renting, or did it buy that? What's?
We purchased that drill.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah, glad to hear it. Yeah, love an exploration company that owns its own equipment. And backpack drills are one of my most favorite things. There's some guys out in Newfoundland I've talked to who kind of background in the construction industry and stuff like this, and they do non-explosive rock blasting techniques. So they'll go and they'll put a little hole in with one of these small drills, and then they'll put this grout in there and come back a day later, and it'll have expanded and broken the rock. You do enough, concentration of these grout holes, you can really bust up the rock into really, pretty small pieces. And then you
bring that up. We've actually been approached by a few of our clients to have us perform that service for them on their mine sites.
Wonderful. It's a great thing to do. You do that, and then you go at it with a jackhammer to kind of classify it a little bit, and then you put it through a rock crusher, and then you put that over a table, and then you got a heavies concentrate of black sand, and maybe you've been able to separate some gold off of there from it. It's you can have a really productive circuit that's targeting, like sniping the hard rock. You're really it's a sniping program that's really kind of enhanced versus what I've seen and heard of other people doing sniping stuff kind of by hand or with really small, simple equipment. I like all the stuff you can do with these backpack drills, and there's different ways of going at it. Like, yeah, glad to hear that people are talking to you about that too. Good ideas travel here, Kyle. This is how. Right. Yeah. So what's the priority?
One of the biggest, go ahead.
Well, no, continue. You say.
One of the biggest things about the backpack drill is they're considered a hand mining method, so you don't need to wait for permits. You can get results relatively quick.
Even better. Yeah, I in various places in the USA, when I'm kind of hunting for opportunity, I look for patented claims because of the benefits those give you on the permitting side, and some of this stuff around the placer, non-mechanized mining, non-machine mining. If you're doing that kind of work too, and you can do it without permitting, that's another one that warms my heart there. Glad to hear it. Mm-hmm. Thank you very much.
And then one other thing we have going for our exploration program is all our people are local. We have no camp costs. We travel from home every day. It's a really cheap way of getting exploration work done.
Yeah, well done. And so priorities, exploration wise, you bought the drill last week, you're spinning up the program. Do you have a sense of, where the outcrops you want to target are? Do they have past grabs that gave grade? Are you hunting for more outcrops? What are we looking at?
There is past grab samples off of the outcrops in the area, but the mapping system that they used back then is not accurate enough to guarantee that that's the outcropping that the sample came from. So we're basically starting from scratch to make sure that our results are accurate. I have 5 targets to hit next week with the drill, and hopefully we'll have results in a timely fashion.
Yeah, wonderful. I love these old programs and reports and data collections that we have for projects where the latitude, longitude, whatever the grids, where they don't line up even from one report to the next, let alone to whatever grid we'd want to use today. I heard a story recently from someone who said that they had 2 deposits that they were drilling off somewhere in Ontario, and they were mining it underground, and they went to do the stope development, and they were developing both deposits, I guess, and then they were going to connect them underground or something like this. And then it wasn't until they got there that they realized that the 2 deposits had been drilled off on different grid systems, and that they weren't. Really? Yeah. So even within one project, whatever consultant along the line had made this choice and that choice, and somebody hadn't gone back to first principles and just built the story up from scratch and really audited the integrity of the data. And I don't know the details of that project other than the stopes. They were on 2 different grid systems and the underground stopes didn't line up. That was a pretty surprising situation.
That could be expensive.
Kind of an unacceptable mistake, right? If you're as someone who's sitting in a mine manager seat right there, Kyle, I think you can understand.
Definitely, yeah.
Well, and so I asked you, but just to ask you again, priorities. You said you have these targets that you want to hit next week, and what about the week after that? And these, are there more outcropping areas that you think you'd be able to find?
There is. When we're using a drone to identify some of the outcrops that might not be accessible on foot, locate them, go in on foot, inspect them, take grab samples while we're there. And pending the results of some of the soil samples that we've sent in, will help design the rest of the season's exploration program.
Well done. Yeah. Amazing how from what you can see from above, sometimes you can see some shafts and these kind of sunken spots that stick out, and you're like, what's going on? Well, it might be an old adit, guys, go have a look, right? It's in the side of a gully. Like, yeah, that's where it would be, right? Let's put so wonderful stuff to have all that, and to have the field crew close at hand to be able to mobilize and expand the program, or kind of as needed. That's always important too. Funding is always the constraint, really, especially for such a new company as Green River here. Maybe one question for you. At labs, is everything going ISO certified, or for grab samples and stuff? Are you sending it off to a lab to do certified assays?
Everything goes to an accredited lab.
Okay, fair enough. You are a public company, so it's kind of cost of doing business, I guess. I've heard tell of somebody who has a mobile fire assay laboratory that they've built in a truck or something like that. And I think that would be a handy piece of equipment, for you guys to be able to have out in some of these places, just for the speed of turnaround.
Yeah, that is an interesting concept, and maybe I'll have to bug you for some contact info after.
Yep, absolutely. Well, and believe it or not, that was a contact that I made through Twitter. So, wasting all this time on social media, and lo and behold, you can find some pretty sharp people out there who are doing some pretty interesting things. So big shout out to Howland Flat, Dave Howard in California. He's pretty active on Twitter recently, gold bug stuff. And he's down in the Sierra Mountains in California, and really embedded there in the gold community. And it's a nascent community, but it deserves to have its time in the light here. Lots of opportunity down there, and the history, that connects up to the Cariboo, where you are right now, that gold rush that just kept rolling along the West Coast there, and went even far north to Yukon and stuff. And I'm sure, there's potential for Green River to follow some of those same paths too, maybe go north, maybe even go south to California someday. Who knows? There's potential to build a pretty big empire there for Green River. I think, especially when it's such an uncontested space, when the competition is just absent, because the market's been so weak for so long, and there hasn't been a lot of money to fund you know, I look at the placer industry in the Cariboo and I think how underfunded it is. And I think of like how much opportunity there is, right? It's kind of a private market, small, niche business, maybe cottage industry, but you know, some really smart people doing some really good work. And it just makes me think, how do you invest in this? How do you invest in this? Right? Is these illiquid markets is where you get the real big, you know, returns and a big opportunity to be that capital that, you know, takes some business to another level. That's you know, that's what the discovery story is all about. That's why we drill these holes, right? Is to try and make these discoveries that level up. And but I see myriad, all kinds of opportunities like that in the placer gold mining business in BC. And it's amazing to me that in Canada, of all places, there would still be these opportunities. You'd think that, you know, the Canadian markets would be well funded and well, you know, watched over by people hunting for opportunity. But, you know, I've followed you guys for going on 6 months and a bit here. And it's just amazing how kind of wide open it seems to be at this point. And in the start of a booming gold time, no less. A very bullish setup. I love it.
Thank you.
Well, anything else that you'd say about, you know, the history of the projects there and what you kind of, you know, is this another Spanish mountain? Is this another Cow mountain? You know, is it the orogenic gold model that we're looking for, you know, in a tectonic setting? Like, is that Eureka fault? I think you're on the right side of it, you know, based on what I was looking at the maps and the geology and all that. It looked like, you know, broad regional location.
At this point in the grassroots exploration, the sky's the limit for the results we can get.
Well, and are you gonna? I hope you do some mapping. You know, those drone shots; those are helpful. But you know, there's so much cover, and I think that area has probably been neglected. You know, from real proper hard rock exploration work, right? So I don't know how much mapping you can do without good exposure, but trying. I guess that, you know, geophysics too, right? Doing some more interpretation on those. Just something to do more mapping. I'd really like to see that.
Survey maybe on the horizon in the future.
Yep, drone geophysics, go for it. You know, that's a very important area that's changing quickly. And you know, you start doing these geophysical programs, and you start, you know, the data mining, because these programs generate a lot of data. And if you have a coverage, you know, data coverage of known deposits, you know, nearby, then you have a true positive, right? And you can start calibrating your search to what does a Cow Mountain look like? What would that, you know, look like, or whatever else, right? You know, there's differences in the structural setting where you are, and the geology and things like that are subtle, but it's game on, right? In terms of new things in old places.
Exactly. And some of our neighbors are quite active, and our area it's heating up.
Yeah, big shout out to Omanika Mining and Metals there to the north of you. Their Wing Dam project, very exciting. And Core Mining too. I think I saw them come in and option like 1 million hectares or something like that, like 1,000 square kilometers. This is the largest mineral land package I've ever seen in Canada or the USA, and kind of southern Cariboo around by Spanish Mountain. So, you know, maybe you'd look at the geological maps and you'd say, oh, that's kind of that ground's not very interesting or whatever. But I would, you know, at the same time, you got to look at the headline and just be like, how much ground did they pick up? You know, what?
That's new to me. I'll have to check that one out.
Yeah, they're a pretty sophisticated group too. Core Mining, Kore, is the ticker. And yeah, they're well known and well liked from what I understand. You know, anyone online tell me otherwise if I'm missing something, but yeah, I've followed them for a while and interacted with them a bit here and there, and always been impressed, you know, and to see them make a major move into Cariboo like that it's very encouraging. There's been some excitement in southern BC, you know, porphyry copper stuff recently, and northern BC is always wild, and the triangle. And then, you know, you go out the Peace, I guess it is, kind of northeast part of the province, and you know, there's some other stuff going on too, like some nickel. That turn again nickel's been making waves and all catching the attention and stuff. So and even in Southeast BC, the Eagle Plains guys, they drilled a Sullivan lookalike target this year. And, I don't think I don't know if they've hit any grade or anything to write home about yet, but people taking big swings all across the province of BC, I see this year. And it's nice to see you guys with the backpack drill taking a little swing. Let's just drill some outcrop, 1 inch diameter tube, whatever it is. Like,
yeah, just trying to be cost efficient and get the results we need to proceed.
Get you on base, right? Get you in the game, because it's a $2 or $3, $4 million market cap company right now, that's not widely known, and even the people who do know it, the people I talked to about, and there's all kinds of question and concern, and they're like, well, what is this company? What's it doing? They don't exactly recognize it, and it's confusing, I think, to some people still. So that's fine. That's fine. You'll need buyers at a $50 million market cap or whatever, how they say.
Right on.
Well, thank you. And just to say, like, have you been involved in anything like this yourself before?
Green River Gold? No, this would be a first for me.
Wonderful. And what's the sense like in Quesnel and in the local, perspective on the company?
It's good. Everybody likes to see a local company grow in the local job market and giving back to the community. It's a pretty good sense in Quesnel, the company. And
there wasn't anybody else really selling picks and shovels prior to this?
Not like we are. No, there was the odd bit here and there throughout town, scattered through the stores, but there was a need for a gold mining store, and we've fulfilled it, and it's beating our expectations.
It's amazing, like the chicken and egg stuff, right? Like sometimes the supply creates the demand, and people say, they wouldn't have gone in on an opportunity like the retail side of things just because it wasn't proven, and well, how could it's not a market? What statistics? There's no numbers on it. It's like, well, there's no numbers on it because nobody's done it yet, but there's a huge need if you know how to read the local community and see what's going on. But again, doing that's not so easy. I've tried to look around for some government stats on gold production, from the BC government, and the placer gold mining there, and pretty hard to find anything really current or accurate. So, I wonder if, over the next decade or whatever it is, if the placer mining becomes more mainstream and it becomes more important, I think it deserves to be, right? Perry's talked to me before about the history of the Great Depression, how it was a job creator. And I think it can be that again. I think it can be, really good business for that community, for BC, the whole country, right? Like, so. Yeah.
And we're seeing that in the retail store of being a job creator. There's a lot of people getting out there hitting the rivers for placer gold this year that aren't working currently.
Wonderful. Well, I'll just invite those people out to come visit you at the store or say hi. What's the address?
3650 Highway 97 North in Quesnel.
Wonderful. Well, Kyle, thank you very much for talking with me here.
Thank you, Peter.
Let's draw it to a close here.
Okay, thanks.
Goodbye.